There is a planet. A planet that was once inhabited thousands of years ago, and now is one of the most uninhabitable planets in the entire universe. A planet where if anyone even saw it would get killed by a monster, or monsters. This planet was called Skaro. Once it was home to two races of humanoid stature, the Khalids and the Thals. The Khalids and the Thals hated each other. They were in all-out war. Then, they started experimenting to create creatures that are powerful enough to kill them. Very soon they ran into a mutated genius of a Khalid, Davros. Davros was mutated beyond all cure. They were just going to throw him out, but his mind was too valuable to lose. So the Khalid Empire decided to make a deal with him. He could be the leader of a project that would create inventions to help end the Khalid when Thal war by destroying the Thals. In return, Davros will be accepted into a society and be part of the High Khalid Empire. What they didn't know that Davros was playing both the sides of the Khalids and Thals. Eventually, Davros created a machine. After so many failed, mutated, thrown away attempts, he created a mutation inside a machine he called Dalek. This thing was a genocide machine that could kill anything with a single shot. And then Davros decided that he will use this to end the Thals. Until a Time Lord came upon Skaro and warned the Khalid Empire of Davros' illegal experiments and killing of soldiers. So, Davros decided to play the Thals like a puppet, deceived them into surrendering the war and ending the Khalid race by upgrading the rocket and lowering the shield that surrounded the Khalid city. The Khalids were consumed in a fire of war, and eventually Davros decided to just wipe out the Thals altogether, leaving only the Daleks and the Khalids on Skaro. The Thals were forced to retreat to the jungles, where apparently it was the only habitable area until this can all blow off. But unbeknownst to them, Davros was planning to destroy the jungles along with anything else on the planet, until the Time Lord decided to seal a barrier of the bunker that Davros and his Daleks were in. Eventually the Daleks got a sense that they should not follow a being that is not a Dalek. They killed the Khalids and Davros, while the Time Lord sealed the Daleks into the bunker, leaving only the Thals with freedom and the Daleks trapped. But in 1,000 years they escaped. The Thals, who thought the Daleks have changed their ways, deceived by the Daleks, eventually made a stupid mistake in trusting them, making them do work. Eventually, the Daleks driven them into the jungle and unleashed a neutron bomb which wiped out most of the Thals. There are some Thals, according to them, are mutations. But even as the Thals say, if they're mutations, then what must they be like? Daleks were about to enter the jungle to wipe out the rest of the Thals when they discovered that years of being drawn underground and relying on metal plates, they cannot go on anything that is not of irradiated metal. Dalek-anium, as they call it. It was completely obvious that the Daleks were trapped in the city, while the Thals were in the jungle, hiding amongst the mutated creatures, plants, and trees. Skaro became one of the most unhospitable planets in the entire universe. More unhospitable than it was during the Khalidan-Thal War. Eventually, a Time Lord returned, but not one that they've met before. They have encountered this Time Lord before, but his fourth incarnation, this was his first, came along with companions. Out of stupid curiosity, they decided to check out this city, where they were captured by Daleks. The Daleks' memory bank was always damaged. Eventually, they decided to use this to their advantage. They deceived the Thals into thinking that they could change. When the leader of the Thals came up for a meeting with the Daleks, the leader was instantly killed, along with a few numbers. The Thals, and even the Time Lord and his friends, were driven back into the jungle. The Daleks decided to unleash another neutron bomb in order to wipe out all of them. And just when the neutron bomb was being developed, the Doctor and his friends, the Time Lord was called the Doctor, by the way, suffered radiation sickness. They decided to spread a medicine throughout Skaro, but this also damaged the Daleks. The Daleks on Skaro died from radiation poisoning, but there was also a few Daleks had escaped Skaro, the advanced Daleks, to rebuild a new Dalek empire on a different planet. And so it was. A new Dalek empire was created. We skip thousands of years later, when the new Dalek Empire was created by the Gold Dalek Empire. But the Gold Dalek Emperor, now invading multiple worlds, no Time Lord to stop them this time, until Daleks decided to revolt, because General Xenol heard about the Gold Daleks' plans to turn Daleks into machines. In order to make sure the Daleks survive, General Xenol must become Emperor and destroy the Golden Dalek Emperor, in which he did. He became the new Dalek Emperor. The Daleks conquered Earth, turning people into Robomen, but were always stopped by the Doctor. Eventually, Emperor Xenol was destroyed, due to a few Daleks implanted with the human factor. Skaro was left uninhabitable. Only a few Daleks remained, but were always destroyed by the Doctor or their own ignorance. But then suddenly, Davros was resurrected by the Daleks. They required him to create new Daleks in order to make sure that they survive. But, unbeknownst to them, they were also being played by Davros. Davros decided to create a whole new faction of Daleks during the Dalek Malevolent War. Eventually, the Daleks were infected with the Malevolent virus. Same thing with Davros. He too was infected. He put himself in a temporary stasis until reawakening, in which a few hundred years later, he was reawakened by the Daleks once more, to make sure to resume his work before the Malevolent invade. But he also created a whole new faction of Dalek that would only obey Davros and destroy the Renegades, the Imperial Daleks, and thus began the Imperial Renegade War. Though the Imperial Daleks had a huge advantage over the Renegades in numbers, the Doctor stepped in once again and wiped out the Renegades. He even destroyed Skaro using the Hand of Omega. Davros escaped though, and thus we lead up to the final part. Thus we lead up to the final part of this part. The first year of the Time War. Somehow Skaro survived the events of the Hand of Omega, and Davros decided to gather all the Daleks throughout time to fight a bigger war. He gathered Emperor Xenol, any Daleks he can find, upgraded their casing, made them into a new faction of the Daleks. They declared war upon the Time Lords with treachery. A new Time Lord president was elected, an old previous one, Rassilon. The Time War ensued. General Xenol, or should I say Emperor Xenol, created a horrific creature that he called the Nightmare Child. Though at a price. Davros and the Supreme Dalek ship was sucked into the jaws of the Nightmare Child, Doctor trying to save him. But it was at a cost. It was too late. It ended the chapter of Davros, once and for all. When the Time War ended, with millions burning, the Doctor used the moment to finally end the Time War by sucking Gallifrey and Skaro into a time lock, but the Doctor thought he destroyed Gallifrey and Skaro. But Daleks have escaped. They always survive. Thus concludes this part. If you want to see a second part of the history of Skaro, then put it in the comments below. And then we shall make another video. Farewell.